Hello and welcome back to the Big East League of Legends 2020 regular season. We just saw another banger of a game as in the end, the squad that had the earlier game pressure, surprise, walked away with the win.
Yeah, it was a little bit dicey though. We had a little bit of late game kind of scaling up, rising from below the ice.
The absolute zero.
Yeah, that was good because the ice is what buried them. That was not a great Nunu pick.
It was not ideal. I mean, it could have been a different icy pick. Sejuani?
You're right. There's a theme.
I'm looking at you.
I liked whatever you did with your eyebrows there, Paul.
It was my Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson impression, just with the eyebrows, though. I'm Invero. That's TJ. We're back once more with some awesome League of Legends action. Let's take a look at our standings to recap how the day has gone so far. DePaul, Seton Hall, Villanova, St. John's all walking away with W's. Providence, though, not actually played forfeit the first match. So DePaul's win is still a win, but just bear that with a grain of salt. Georgetown, Butler in particular, I think there was some potentials for greatness there. I think Marquette, I played fine. Just some drafty thingies could have gone a little bit differently for them. But that means everybody's played so far, which means we're going to get some repeat gameplay coming in for some of these teams.
That's good. That's exciting for me because we've seen one example, and that's it, of many of these teams. So our second cycle round, we're going to start to get an inkling for what these teams consistently do, what they can fix, and what maybe was just a fluke of one weird draft.
Yeah, and both of these teams going to have so one team has a win, one team has a loss, so some chances to turn things around as we're seeing Butler taking on St. John's. St. John's, of course, playing the back-to-back match, so they should be all nice and warmed up for this one. Is
that a positive or a negative? Because you always used to see it at like old lands where people would have to play 3 games back to back, and sometimes they'd feel really warmed up and they just bang out 3 wins.
Yeah,
and sometimes it starts to add up against you.
I think it's a pretty strong advantage just playing one game. So again, in this Butler St. John's matchup, I think it is definitely coming down to the fact that again St. John's literally just played. They had a nice 7-minute break, and now it's a chance to just really get back into it and just say, okay, we're learning some lessons here and, keep going, keep improving.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to reset. I want to talk about Butler, though, because we did get a peek at them earlier and they didn't pick up the win.
No, this is true.
Those are facts.
True. But it was a good game, though.
Yes. So my worry for Butler, my question for Butler, rather, is what do you take from that game? What do you take from that loss? Because when Butler looked really good, when Butler looked in control of the game, it felt like that was their game to lose, and they kind of did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. And even just looking at the last time these two teams faced, St. John's got the better of them. And we were even talking during the break between these two teams, talking to some of the crew, and they're like, I think St. John's. I'm actually kind of leaning towards Butler here because St. John's, yes, did just walk away with the W, but against I think a weaker team than Butler ended up losing to, and I think that game was equally as close. So if we're looking at Butler here, I think Mac did a really good job. I think Xenoko did a solid early game job and then just had a champion that didn't scale to in the manner that he so desired.
Well, Set scales in the manner that you so desire. I think his play of Set didn't scale in the manner that you so desired because it kept being full engage.
This is true.
And he was building Black Cleaver. When you full engage with only a Black Cleaver at the 15 to 20 mark, you're going to start to just get burned down.
You are. But somebody who was doing a lot of burning on their own was all for Joy coming in the mid lane. He looked impressive.
He was on fire.
He was on fire, yes. That Silas play was really good. Hijacking ults, getting killer Kingslayers, just maximizing that kit for sure. And playing, a solid champion there as well. So I believe he came in playing or am I on the wrong game?
No, you're right.
Okay, that's what I thought. Master rank, though, in Season 9, so super solid on that one. Able to almost upset. There's a question there, Butler Villanova. You actually picked Butler.
I did.
In that game.
Way to rub it in.
You could have... I'm actually commenting because, again, on paper, Villanova were very much the favorites. You went for Butler. And they almost could have pulled off that win there. It was truly pretty close.
It did feel like they kind of lost the thread in the mid-game, though.
Yeah.
It did feel like we got to the middle point of that game, and all of a sudden, All for Joy went a little bit too aggressive. There were like 1 or 2 fights where he overextended. They realized that they definitely needed to bully the Misfortune. And the second they are repeatedly shutting down the bot lane, and they get the advantage in mid, and they're shutting down the set in the overaggression and team fights, Well, all your carries are dying. You know, that's the entire field.
Yeah, that's not the ideal situation there. But again, things can change the second time around. They did have some opportunities to learn. They got up against St. John's, who are going to be looking to immediately change their fortunes. Seven Swords up in the top lane did stellar on that Aatrox. That was really, really good. And Pikey as well in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
That J4 play.
You were a little bit soft on it, but me and Ikuko's Rumble.
Yeah, he was
having a great time.
Yeah, no, he was really, really good in the early mid game. I think when he went in and went gold, and then his whole team died trying to save him.
Okay.
That I think was sort of the beginning
right,
of.
but that was one play.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I don't
Paul.
feel like he had quite the impact.
Are you telling me you've never made a mistake in your entire life?
I'm saying that I have. And
You've
I know
never
exactly
made a
what it feels
one-off
like
mistake?
And I know exactly what it feels like to tilt.
Okay.
I'm saying
well,
it's in there. But let's talk about Pikey, though. Let's talk about this
yeah.
juggler. The J4 was solid, finding that early rotation up top, burn flash. Came back a minute later, got the kill. That's the kind of proactive play that you need to do, and that's exactly how J4 is supposed to operate.
That's what J6 does.
You keep increasing the number.
Yes. Because you have early game presence, and very few other characters can do that. And then you build them a little bit tanky these days. You pull out the stone plate really early on, and then he just becomes a late game CC bot.
What a surprise, an early stone plate. Oh gosh, I never would have seen that coming.
So you pop the stone plate in the team fights after the Cataclysm, it triggers, you get the proc from having more than 3 people around you, and you basically don't die, and you're a secondary tank.
Yep. And it's scary because he does so much damage, offers so much utility, and he's a tanky boy now.
Well, at different points in the game. You start with the damage, you scale into the tank.
And then you get a little bit of both, and then everybody's happy, and the CC is always relevant. Let's jump into our draft, though, for our 4th match of the day. It's exactly how this is going to break down. Butler, as I said, looking to get this win on the table, looking to find a little bit of redemption. St. John's hot off that last victory. But again, this is going to be a close match. Oh, man. Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So, our star player from the last game, I think, was the quiet presence of the mid laner, Ihuko. I want to see if he gets Rumble again. I want to see what comes out from his champion pool and if he can carry on in the same way. Because if I was watching that last game, which I sure hope Butler was, I'll let him play Rumble again.
Yeah, again, it was solid in lane 2. His rotations coming in and the jungle plays were really solid. Equalizers were on point. Yeah, you're right. I guess you're right. The Rumble damage often sometimes is kind of deceptive.
Yeah. If you're not watching the equalizer, you don't see it land, and then you don't realize why everyone's HP is just ticking down a whole bunch. But
and then you're all gone.
That equalizer is the best teamfight ultimate. So there's the Rumble band down, as you say. You also see the Graves. That is, once again, because of Pikey, who plays a very, 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 very good Graves.
Yeah, but also picking up a good J4. So I complain about that, as well as the Aatrox, once again for 7 Swords, locking in this duo that just brought them so much success in the last game. But Orange, going to be the response here from Vixen Noko. In my opinion, one of the best top laners, if not the best top laner in the game right now. Just the amount of utility it offers, the amount of CC, surprising damage, and tankiness. Got a Misfortune as well to carry into the mid late.
Yeah, very for fun. That's kind of interesting to me that he's picked it up because of how hard he was focused down that last game. So I want to see if we get a more defensive support. And Thresh is already pretty defensive. We have the Lantern, which is more escape tools than a lot of supports have.
I wouldn't mind like a Tom Kench or something, I think.
I'd say Braum.
But
it depends what's against him.
Exactly. Well, because Braum could potentially be sniped here as a good counter to the Call of the Forge God, depending on what you want to pick up for St. John.
Well, the Braum is just really good into this, which is why I would call Butler to pick it, because Bullet Time and the Call of the Forge God.
Look at that.
So there it is.
There it is. St. John snipe it out before the end of the first phase. That's a solid pickup. And as I mentioned before, what's great about so it calls it in. Braum just turns around, big ol' unstoppable shield, breakable shield.
Hello.
It's like no.
This technically counts as a projectile. Oh, welcome to Braum's world. Also, Misfortune late game is literally an alt button.
Yep.
Press the R button and that's your impact on a team fight.
Ooh, that was a good pickup then. Man, this is St. John's. I like this draft coming out from them so far.
My worry so far, if I'm nitpicking, is I think that the CC in the mid-game team fights, the mid-game team fight in particular, is really good for Butler. Call the Forge God into the Sage ultimate, you do a lot of opening damage. Once you have people locked down, you can follow through with the bullet time. So right now that's all blocked out theoretically by the Braum. They also have a decent amount of engage on the St. John's side. So I don't know. The mid-game team fights are the spike. After that, I think St. John's win if they can pick up a little bit more late-game damage scaling in their mid and bot lane. And Butler need to punish early game hard. That's a little bit difficult to do into a Braum Jarvan, but they can pick that up here as well.
Yeah, and I'm liking the denials, the bot lane support pickups here for St. John's. Taking the comfort picks won't be banned. The second time the Barb is banned against them here, so I think that's definitely going towards that comfort pickup. Ezreal.
Second time the Yumi's taken away as well. He's a little bit of a Yumi main over on the won't be banned.
But I also want to note, you talked about the amount of CC that Butler has going for them here, and I also want to point out, you have the Flagon Drag, you have the Dark and Blade, you got the Glacial Fissure, you got the Cataclysm.
Yeah,
like St. John,
very engage heavy.
They have tools as well. Whoever starts these fights first and can get the combos off, I feel like is going to be the team that walks away with the W. Ezreal, though, you're going to need some time to get involved in this one. A lot of poke to start. And it's so interesting because this is a poke champion with a full engaged team. And I'm not sure how much I love it.
No, so I like the Ezreal.
Okay, talk about it.
The Ezreal is really good because he combos with the Braum. You can get the Braum marks very well just in the normal course of doing Ezreal things. You also have him scaling into late game, which is very important. As I said, maybe the mid game is Butler's best moment. Once you get past that, St. John's need to have some late game damage because you need to compensate for the Jarvan who kind of falls off. And they have that now, and they will double down on that win condition with the Cassiopeia if this hover is locked in, which I'm very much agree with.
Oh, I like this a lot.
And this
means going to be...
Yeah, this means Butler needs to win right in the mid game. And if they don't have a dominant advantage by the 25-minute mark, I think they just hard lose. And this is a Butler composition that isn't especially dedicated to getting an early game win. It's definitely a composition that can do that. They have the Wave Shove of the Misfortune. They have a lot of control options in the mid game. But you would be remiss to say that Butler have won this draft.
Oh, man. I don't know. I think this is probably the most even draft we've seen so far today.
I disagree. I think St. John's are doing great.
Okay. I don't know. I think the Yasuo is a little bit of a swing pick.
Yasuo is good. Yasuo is a very good pick.
Yeah, and I like it because the windmill. I like it because you have set up for the ults. I do like St. John's. So here's my issue as we go into predictions. I'll set up my thought process going on into this one.
Right.
So I think the Butler went more even against a better team, and yes, they lost, but I think what they displayed was a little bit better. But I like their draft a little bit less. It's still a good draft. It's still functional. Still gives them tools. Still gives them options. But I think it's a little bit worse. Whereas St. John's won their game, but up against, I think, a worse team and showed some potential issues as well, but they have a better draft. So the scales are kind of all over the place. But I think I'm actually gonna. I was saying Butler before we went into this, but I think I might actually lean for St. John's on this one. I think I'm gonna go with St. John's. I think they have the momentum. They were warmed up from that last game. I really like their draft. I think the cast was a stellar pickup. I think I'm never a huge fan of Ezreal. There's too many games I've seen where it just doesn't do enough. I need him to do something here and defend my pick because I'm currently 3-0 today, 4-0 today, 3-0 today.
All right. Okay. He had the smuggest look on his face when he said that. St. John's all in. It's no good cutting to him after he's done being smug. Come on. St. John's all in. I think.
Looking at that camera, gosh.
I think the power of their draft is slightly more in the late game, and that's what they're building towards. And I also don't think that Butler have drafted enough to knock them out of the early game. And if you want to beat this St. John's roster, I want to see Butler hit them hard in the early game. And I don't think Butler can do that. If they do, it'll be off the back of a roaming Sejuani. And I'm not a giant fan of Sejuani right now. She's fine.
She's good.
But gone are the days when she would be insta-picked in the LPL and have so much lane presence that she hard won all of the bot lane engagements before they even began. And into a Jarvan, I would even say she's a little bit disadvantaged. So.
All right. Well, you got to hear from both of us. The game is ready to rock and roll. So let's get right into it after this. Butler, St. John's, both these teams have played games today, and who is going to either walk away? Well, they're going to see 1-1s or a 2-0 and a 0-2, and nobody wants to start the season 0-2. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard-pressed for St. John's to come out on top because Butler have that little extra emphasis, that little extra pressure. Can't go down 0-2.
That's true. That's true? I thought you were going against your own prediction here for a second.
No,
what?
I was giving you I was giving you points.
Oh,
I was trying to give you a narrative point.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely need the help. Reborn, though, on a Braum.
Wait, you switched, didn't you?
I was going with Saint.
I said I didn't like it. I said I didn't like the Butler draft, and you completely changed your tune.
I like the Butler draft.
You were
I
like,
it's
well,
slightly less. I
you
like
know-
it's slightly because Yasuo's do one of two things. They either win you the game or they absolutely lose it for you.
That's just your solo queue experience.
It's
to be-
everybody's
yeah,
solo.
it's
You know, they go
everyone's solo
0
queue.
and 7. They go 0 and 7, and then somehow you win the game. I don't understand how the math works. It just does. But Cass, one of my favorite mid lane champions. I just don't understand why nobody buys boots on her, Kappa. There's clearly sarcasm. Twitch chat, I'm right here with you. Solidarity. Okay. Come on, team. Don't look at me like that, TJ.
I was looking. Okay, weird flex. That's kind of what I have out of that.
Okay.
This Noko is taking a powerful flex into top lane. That's two people just rushing him right off the bat. Oh!
Oh! Spikey.
I think if he committed to that auto attack, he kind of canceled
Yeah,
an
he canceled,
auto.
I think.
I don't know if he would have been able to get out though with the minion wave
Could
on
have
him.
just smited him. I would have killed him.
No,
No, it wouldn't have. Wait, no.
he doesn't have the jungle item yet, so
Yeah,
he can't target.
Darn it. It's too early. For some reason, I thought we were like 3 more minutes into this game.
That's understandable. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Well, here we go.
What's
Going on
back
in.
though on the flank?
This could be disastrous here for Bastion. We do have the alcoves now to play around. Keep an eye on that. Flash committed early, both sides. Forcing out the return flash action. Just wanting the target. First blood goes to the Ezreal. Snipe him on out. Hang on. Oh, me, oh my. St. John's turning that one on its head. The distance back underneath the turret, though. Can't get the shot. Not quite in range. Reborn. Setting that up for Basham, who's bashing him right up about the skull to start this one off, and that's how you want to start a game for St. John's.
That's why I like that Ezreal Braum bot lane. Ezreal just shoots out spells constantly. You trigger the Braum passive by default.
You just get that done. That is a scary bottom lane. I mean, Ezreal Braum is sort of one we talked about quite a bit, but wow, that was a series of events if I've ever seen them. Basham feeling really comfortable on that Ezreal, just threading the needle, getting that shot off. The Sejuani's like, I'm feeling super confident. I can come in here and help. Guys, I'm helping. And then Flash was burned and life was burned. And not a great situation.
Yeah, a lot of people think Braum is a relatively defensive early game. That's because of what Braum is often played with. When you used to see a ton of like Braum Kai'Sa, you're not going to win that lane, no. But now that you're seeing more aggressive picks with him, you can actually do a lot because he is basically on command stun against any character as long as your ADC is spitting out spells fast, which of course an Ezreal, and especially Basham's Ezreal is.
Doing that non-stop, burning through that mana of the Fierce Rays, getting the tier early, of course. Gonna look to assist with that. This top lane's gonna be interesting. I would traditionally call it a wet noodle fight, but these two actually do surprisingly so much
You ever
damage.
been hit with a pool noodle?
Yes.
It kind of hurt. Maybe that was just like 5-year-old me, but
Okay.
it really hurt.
Okay. There's a story here. Save it for another time. In any case, these two top laners will be able to potentially not only foster some solo kills, but definitely set up a jungle rotation should that want to come about. And I have to give props. Actually, All for Joy not doing too bad. Actually going dead even in this mid lane matchup so far into not the easiest one up against the Cass.
So here's my kind of problem with the Butler thesis. Wow, did you hear I just drank tea and all of a sudden I have like my full voice again?
That's amazing.
Powerful.
Tea is a powerful thing.
The problem is that the Butler thesis is a lot dedicated towards their mid game, and I don't see how they get into that mid game with an advantage. And you can't win the game in like one phase. So they can't go, hey, we're going to trade pretty even with like an Ornn Aatrox top lane. You know, no one's going to win. We're going to trade pretty even. Then we're going to get to the mid game. We're just going to close the game out. And if they can't close the game out in the mid game, then you've got Ezreal, Cassiopeia coming online, Aatrox late game. I just don't see St. John's losing that game state.
I agree. I think it's going to be a very difficult situation to come out on top versus, as we're seeing the rotation
Mac?
spotted by the ward. Mac's going to look to try and make this one happen.
He's out.
He's out. Yep. I don't think there's any.
Oh.
Oh, maybe not. No, he's out. Still had the flash. I don't think he actually needed to burn it there. There's not a whole lot of mana on this Ornn either.
If he'd gotten stunned, if Mac had managed to land the stun, he would have been dead. So,
Yeah. Okay.
better safe than sorry.
Yep. Burns the flash. And that's still absolutely massive at this stage here. Going on in. 7 swords. His current rate's only plat 3, so actually one of the lower ranked members here, but I think that's a little deceptive. His play has been really good. And a 68% Aatrox win rate across 25 games. That's a solid stat line.
I'm just happy no one's running stats on me.
What do you mean?
Well, I was thinking about that because we're just like pulling from their ranked queue, right?
Yeah.
But ranked queue this season is bad.
That's why my summoner name is different from my name. Good times. We're seeing a return gank
World
up
Ender.
top. Pop of the World Ender, though, going to survive through a lot of this. And we're playing this really passively. There they go. There's the recommittal. Butler Max going to try and make something happen. This is still a 2v1 situation.
The alcoves!
Force despite the minions to try and stay alive a little bit longer, but literally no mana for this Ornn right now. And the Aatrox is maybe gonna not quite! Barely! No HP, no mana, no problem. I think the Aatrox had an opportunity to walk away and maybe just should have.
Big fan of Seven Swords kiting them into the alcoves, using those bushes very cleverly. And then the follow-up was to double back, which I guess I believe in.
Ooh.
But Sejuani can just take those.
No level 6 for Pikey. That could have been a nice, juicy two-man Cataclysm, which could have resulted in some double burn flash.
I don't think you... I don't think you burn down an Ornn Sejuani.
No, you just try and make them both burn flash, and then it's...
Right, but I really do think they could just stop and fight that. Because you put an Ornn in Cataclysm and he just stuns you.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't have any mana, TJ.
Oh, you are right.
He literally didn't have
You're right.
and he couldn't have casted a single spell.
You're right.
But now he's back. Burns TP,
Full
answer
mana.
TP, so we're even in that, so keep an eye on the TP counters, actually the only ones in the game, so no crazy rotations to follow up on potential mid or bot lane engage. And right back into it, chains go down. Ooh, barely able to get out.
That should be the noise he makes. Cast Bella's breath. You had a little bit more ramp to it the first time.
Well, not gonna do it the third time. We have standards. Oh, get all those last hits.
The CS! He got all of it!
Normally we -1 in chat. Not today, team. Not today.
All right, so my problem is this is kind of what I set out in the early game. Butler aren't going to get a massive early game advantage without trying something risky, which to their credit, we are getting now with this Rift Herald contest. It has been red, though. Here comes the chase.
Uh-oh, that's an early flash forward for Reborn. Call the Forge God is going to go in and turn.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, right back around. Bring him on in as well. The Death Sentence forcing out the flash. Oh, and the prediction of the Sejuani of the Glacial Prison. What a disaster for St. John's now being chased. No, holding on for the flag and drag with the flay. You absolute monster. This Thresh is going off.
Won't Be Banned steps up, and there is the early game control I said Butler wouldn't get.
And we're seeing it turning on its head, finding the ult, and watch this. Flashes back, boom, instantly reconnects. Everybody commits forward. Summoners that should not have been burned, but will let him have it in the situation. Watch this. Watch this. He goes for it. Nope.
And he was responsible for the lantern that saved, the opening Yasuo engagement there as well. He saved all for joy, and I do think he had a big impact on that fight. So, huge props to Won't Be Banned there.
Frostbite not quite connecting in the bottom, but that was the fight that Butler absolutely needed. St. John's feeling a little bit too overconfident, a little too optimistic about their chances on that one. Tunnel visioning somewhat. And again, this is the part of the problem with going off of a game where you're ahead, you're feeling good, you think you're more powerful than you are going directly back into another one of these matchups. I think in that situation, they were feeling just a little bit too good after that last match, and Butler punished them.
Well, they had a chase on Ultrajoy, who was running out of the mid lane. He starts running up the river. That's really good intel right away that there's something happening around the Rift Herald. Because there's no other reason for a Yasuo to run up away from wave. So what I think you immediately should do if you're St. John's is slow down. Instead, we saw a flash forward from Reborns in order to re-up the stun. And from there, they were overcommitted.
Yes.
There was just nothing that could be brought to back.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw. I mean, I understand.
Well, he didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
his thought process was kill Yasuo, and that was kind of it. And it turns out there was a reason Yasuo was running up the river. Which, to be fair, they might have just thought he was trying to escape through the push, but I think it was pretty obvious he was making beeline straight up the river, so. Here we go. Another chance to grab him.
Nope. Well, that was a time.
It was a moment that occurred in this League of Legends game.
A little poison, just to go.
Uh-huh.
Call the Forge God was utilized. Seven Sword trying to get out a little bit longer. Oh, the flash.
Okay. Flash keeps him barely ahead of the Glacial Prison. He'd already spent the World Ender just for the move speed, which isn't really what you want to be spending ult on. That'll mean that turret probably goes down, actually, with the Rift Herald summoned.
Ooh, we're seeing the damage already. This MF is starting to hit a little bit harder. Everybody's coming on down. There's Cloud5 getting 2. Bullet time, though, in response. Pikey is getting absolutely chunked. There's the heal. Nice job, Ezreal coming on in, flashing forward, committing on it. One more! No!
Oh! Stasis from Won't Be Bad keeps him alive, and Basham's already spent the True Shot Barrage. He can't complete that fight.
They get the carry, but they don't get both. The Nile in the last possible frame. That man should start speed running. That was absolutely perfect.
Right, perfect. Yes. League of Legends bot lane 100%.
That's it.
Unfortunately, it's not 100%.
No.
They already lost to fight down there, and that gives St. John's a little bit more they need back into this game. It's a very similar setup to what St. John's beat in the last game, where I'm kind of taking down the moments till we get to late game and that Ezreal Cassiopeia becomes terrifying. I will say, right now, St. John's are much more in this game than the previous opponents were against them. This is St. John's definitely solidly keeping themselves tied and now even slightly ahead, I think, with this turret gold in the early game, which is exactly the opposite of what you want for Butler.
And here's the thing, this is so much the thought process I had going into this. I think on paper, I think Butler is the slightly better team, I think mechanically the slightly better team, but I like the draft of St. John's here, and St. John's is playing this draft well. They're getting some redemption on the kill they missed earlier, and J4 just arriving for funsies, but Basham, so terrifying. He's making me a believer in this Ezreal, I have to say. And yeah, Pikey, stick around. Let's push it on through. Only a minute left or so to get this turret plating, and I think they can take this one down.
Won't be banned. Oh, True Shot.
Oh, you're just standing there. Okay.
I mean, he couldn't have dodged, but it's kind of weird that he popped a True Shot there, I guess, for vision primarily.
Also to you, butted away. Call the Forge God, hit the turret, 7 swords, gonna get knocked out, force pop the World Ender, and then immediately it does end. Yes, your world over right now. Trading turrets out, picking up a kill. Positive trade for Butler right there, all things considered. Though at this stage too, second Rift Herald is spawning not too long, which means that getting this top turret will be pretty darn nice for them.
A few moments ago, we did see St. John's. Oh, I'll hold this. This is bad. Ihuko in trouble. Flash.
Force the flash box.
Double
down.
stun. Petrifying Gaze.
Uh-oh, finds the death sentence. Horseman of the Cleanse coming back in on this. There's the TP.
This actually could create a big opportunity, but it's a clean escape. Reborn comes in, nick of time. The double Petrifying Gaze from Ihuko.
That was absolutely massive. This, Ihuko, I have to say, putting on a heck of a clinic on this Cassio so far. Beautiful cleanse timing as well, as of course getting off the ult to just get right on out of there. I think Butler thought that was sort of signed, sealed, delivered, but instead that Cassiopeia just slithers on out to safety.
I liked your visual language there.
I appreciate it. It's just a snake lady. So.
That's why it was good visual language.
Makes sense.
So a moment ago, we saw bot lane, top lane trade. St. John's were able to push up, grab a turret. Butler, in the meantime, are continuing to really bully 7 swords up top. I don't think this is the worst trade for Butler, but the win conditions of St. John's, remember, are that mid and bot lane. It is the Ezreal Cassiopeia. Aatrox will get there. You're not going to knock an Aatrox completely out of the game no matter what you do. So I'm not that worried about the Aatrox scaling in as long as the Ezreal and the Cassiopeia stay alive. And that means I think the kills getting passed over to Basham are much more valuable for St. John's than the deaths that 7 Swords is taking.
I don't disagree at all. I think that's 100% correct here. I like the lane swapping that's going on right now. Oftentimes we see the bot like KC combo brought up towards the top in this situation. Again with the double early Rift Herald on that 8-minute Herald, but instead opting to put them into the mid, potentially a little bit of a safer position, and still swap that bottom laner down to the bottom and then mid to the top. It's a musical chairs is happening right now. It's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So this is a multi-step swap, but you want to get. Ideally, you want to get the Ezreal Braum to take mid lane. Death Sentence wide.
We are seeing the potential engage going in from the Sejuani. Ult is available. Keep an eye on it. But the fact that Basham didn't back away, I think, was a bit of a, actually, in this case, a false flag, red flag from St. John's. They didn't actually have anybody else there who could have helped, but Basham's just like, yeah, I'm just going to pepper you with Mystic shots while you try and take down my fairly tanky Braum, and good luck with that. We'll be on our way.
So you want to have this Ezreal Braum in the mid lane, and then you're going to have the Cassiopeia kind of shoving wave and recalling. Shoving wave and coming back to mid lane. And you want the Aatrox to take the bot lane, probably. Although they have swapped, so you're going to get the Aatrox being sent back
is just... Like, what is the Ornn going to do?
Do you think they're just chasing that matchup?
I think that's 100% what's happening here, and also just want to make sure that everybody can come down. The other big difference is Aatrox has the TP, but we'll talk about that in a second. Is the the swap goes through. Braum actually gets in the way, but still taken down. Beautiful job though getting the Ezreal out of it. He actually put himself in a position to block the death sentence. That was absolutely massive. Great support play. The reason you want to bring the Aatrox up top is because if they fight over the dragon, TJ, he's got the TP. But lazy recalls, lose games, goes. Oh me, oh my! Surviving underneath the turret. The kill actually goes out, does end up trading, but don't back underneath your turrets because they will go down when you die.
And now Basham just has to watch as the mid lane turret falls, and Butler's early game lead that we stressed so hard they needed to earn. We're now past the 15-minute mark, and they do have quite a significant lead. Those turrets will parlay directly into objectives. That's going to be at least the Drake. I would not be surprised if they manage to curry it into a Rift Herald as well, given how much map control they have with those turrets down.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. The other option could have been pushing towards that bottom lane, but everyone's going to back and reset. And then, yes, there are the pings coming out. You called it, TJ, right towards that Rift Herald. Wanted to make sure you deal with all those map objectives. 2.5 minutes.
This is such a brutal turret deficit to be at for St. John's. That mid turret going down hurts their map control so much because they literally are playing so much further back right now. If you are going to contest for St. John's, you have to very much time your vision press perfectly. You need to say, okay, Butler are probably going for the Rift Herald now. We're going to push forward as a unit, grab the vision, then fall back if they're not literally on Rift Herald. And as you can see, they just don't have that kind of control or awareness right now, so they're not able to contest it.
They are not. Cass, obviously, no TP here. Taking a look at the turrets. Pretty even, all things considered. Slight gold advantage was taken on the side of Butler there, just through proximity. Grabbing this Rift Herald as well. Going to be utilizing that potentially in the bottom lane to just equalize that last tier 1, or to continue to push it down in the mid. Keep up that pressure there, but overall, nice macro play from Butler going into this mid-game, capitalizing on that lead that we mentioned before, but question is it enough yet? Because scaling. St. John's, they haven't lost a whole lot. They're only down by 1.4k gold, a little more with the ornaments.
I mean, losing that mid turret is the big thing. Because if you don't lose the mid turret, it's actually, I think, fine to lose your 2 side turrets because you can just freeze wave, and it even could be argued you have an advantage there. But the only turret they still have is their bot lane tier 1. So all of that is going to put them at quite a deficit when it comes to contesting these objectives.
Somebody saw you missed that bash, but don't worry about it.
I didn't. I was actually looking into your beautiful eyes, so.
Thank you.
I actually totally didn't until you called it out.
Point blank Mystic Flare, it's fine. But no, next couple minutes I think are going to be very much the deciding factor for Butler. They have built themselves up a nice little lead. The Misfortune has almost completed their second item. I think once they hit that power spike, that's when they're going to look to start to go. We have seen a little bit of a CS advantage being generated here by this Ezreal, but 2-1-0, 3-0-1, still solid performances for both of these bot laners, but I think the support players are really the unsung heroes. Great Thresh play, great Braum play so far this game.
Pressure in mid from this Ezreal Braum. I actually would have sent this Ezreal Braum back down to the bot lane, to be honest, just because I think that's the safest place to put them if they're your win condition. The fact that they put the Cassiopeia there instead indicates that they believe that Cass is most likely their win condition, and given Ahiko's play in the last game, I don't know that I disagree.
And even so far in this game, too. I mean, yeah, 0-1-1 isn't, super stellar stats, but, and actually that much of a CS deficit. Hang on a second, about a 50 CS deficit down to Yasuo right now. All for Joy has been going on.
All for Joy hasn't had delane swap. That's most of where that comes from. All for Joy's just been able to catch all the waves, and even a little bit more, as we keep an eye on him. So it's been a very efficient game for All for Joy, whereas Cassiopeia has been slithering all across the map.
He's finally rotated down towards the bottom, though, but you're right. He's all over the place. He's just so mobile, able to get around. And I want to see now Butler start to establish some vision control, partially around Baron, and then continually around the... kind of see a little bit here, but continue to push it into this bottom lane around the Drake pit and into the opposing team's jungle. This is going to be sort of the next point of contention. And I mentioned I wondered where this Rift Herald was going to be utilized, and it is going to be to clean up this Tier 1 turret in the bottom. That is the last Tier 1 standing.
And that's just so that this Drake is real easy to pick up. There's no base of operations for St. John's to launch their attacks from. Butler have complete and total map control, and the thing about that is even if it's only, 2,000 gold lead, it snowballs. The second you have map control like this, it's really hard to get back in the game from St. John's, even though they ostensibly have the late game. I don't know how they keep up.
They have to win a team fight.
Well, they have to win.
Take mid turret and then try and take Baron.
The hard part is they have to win predictive team fights.
They do.
They have to say, okay, we know where Butler are, and we're going to push in at exactly the right time, because they don't have the vision and they don't have the means of setting up the vision to actually know where Butler are.
And they're doing a very good job of controlling this river vision. Is Butler looking solid right now? The MF is so close to this second item. Gonna be... Whoop.
I liked that noise.
But could have been, I mean, not scary, just kind of annoying.
Is that the canceled recall noise?
That could have been. That was the I barely got out of there. Oh boy. So we're going to be tied in terms of Drakes right now. Ocean Drake, once again, going over to Butler here. Actually solid for this composition. That Soul, yeah, man, it just... the dynamism it adds to some of these late game fights.
Dynamism?
It's so much fun.
Dynamism?
Yeah, because you just get to do more things.
Okay. I like dynamism.
It's a good word. Oh! Dodge him.
So it's all about the idea that St. John's can win late game. And I said that in the draft. I said, St. John's late game, woo! But as we're starting to get ramped up, we've seen a couple of things I think go very wrong. One of them is, as you say, the dynamic Ocean Drake is currently in the hands of Butler. Also, you have an Ornn who's having a good game. And that means the Ornn's leveling quickly, and that means the ornaments, the upgraded Ornn items, are coming out quick and furious. And that also scales into Butler's late game, which isn't too far behind St. John's already. I think the only thing that will hard shove them out of the late game, hard give an advantage to St. John's, is if you can see Ihugo start to get going on this Cassiopean.
Ooh. Able to get out of there was the misfortune there. Forced from the flash. I also think one other thing to note is the fact that Basham, you saw the stats pop up on your screen, only 40% win rate on that misfortune, but a 62% win rate for St. John's coming in. So obviously there's just being taken solo queues, keep that with a bit of a great assault, but a little bit more comfortable perhaps on this Ezreal.
This isn't your son's solo queue.
No, I mean, but also just competitive games are just so much more fun. Everybody's on voice comms, everybody's active, everybody's involved. That's honestly, when I played collegiate esports back in the day, that was some of the things that I enjoyed so much. That just go so far above and beyond the regular solo queue experience. But Butler is ahead in this game. And the
solidly.
Solidly. I mean, between the Ornn items, between the gold differential, but these last 5 minutes, not a whole lot's happened from the 19-minute mark to now. Literally 5 minutes.
Right.
Nothing has happened.
So they have kind of stalled out, but they also kind of have the lead. They can just play for Drakes, I think, at this point. Because as long as Butler don't make a mistake, this will scale within the boundaries of their advantage, right?
And like again, Sejuani's going to continue to get really tanky. Ornn is always going to be relevant. Misfortune will kind of drop off at some point, depending on how St. John's build. And Thresh is always going to be like. Don't get me wrong, Butler has a good late game, but Basham's just going to get scary if they can pepper the fights correctly to start things off. If they can get the initiation, we've seen Cass just.
Well,
the G4 will drop off though.
My big question mark is Ihugo. He actually built Rod of Ages first item. That's already hit level 10. Or stack 10, is that how we phrase that? You nodded. Stack 10 on the Rod of Ages. So there's a couple spikes around their mages in the Ezreal and the Cassiopeia. If they manage to get into late game ahead, then we have a much better look for St. John's.
Yeah, and this game definitely feels like the most mature one we've seen so far. Two of the best teams.
It's all calm and collected.
It is.
It's all chill.
It is. But
lo-fi League of Legends to relax and study to.
Yeah, I can take that.
Do you get that reference?
Of course. I have been on YouTube.
You're such a boomer. I don't know if you do. Are you a boomer? You're giving me a very offended look. He's giving me a very offended look.
I'm not even. Okay, Gen X. Oh boy. All right. Whoa! That damage. That all bounce. Fashion was just right back up though. That's fine.
It's a mindset, not an age.
That's my. Anyway. But yes, this is. I don't know. This is really interesting. This is honestly the first team to make a mistake loses. This is the stare down at this point. I'm not even really sure how to properly describe this game state. This is the ring around the rosy. This is the somebody call somebody.
You know when
bluff.
you're walking down the hallway, and the other guy like locks eyes with you, and you like both go the same way, and you both go right, and then they go right, and then you have to like stop and go left again.
And you have to make the decision who's going to stop and go left and who's going to like own the path. Yeah, that's not a bad analogy.
I feel like that's a really good analogy. Because Butler, as long as they don't make a mistake, are good. They found a cutoff though.
Oh, that's probably a kill.
Nope.
There's the flash. There's the pullback. There's the stun. The follow-up. And that is very certainly the kill. Beautiful timing on that CC, but a little scuffle in the jungle is potentially breaking out right here. Can they catch them? There's the call of the Forge God going on through. The knock of multiple members. The bullet time as well in the back of this. Trying to get through this, and there's the second kill, the pickup. Oh, total whiff on the ultimate as well. Not finding a single person with the petrifying gaze, and that was the initiation. That was the step forward we need. He walked up to the guy in the hallway, and he just knocked him over.
They shoved him over, Paul. They knocked him off his feet.
Onto his behind.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I
St. John's
I might get in trouble.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
There's the Baron picked up by Butler. It'll be Drake and trade, but needless to say, that's not a fair trade for St. John's. Very good shot calling from Butler to say, hey, there's Aatrox.
We're pretty fast, and we have a lot of I think we can kill him. And you didn't think
they
could kill him.
Too far forward. I didn't think they could kill him when he world-entered, zoomed out of that lane, and flashed over. You can take a look at this second fight here. Watch as Reborn.
Oh no.
Watch Reborn as we get here. He's going to try and shield the bullet time. And 1BBand is already casting his death sentence the second the call comes through. Hey, I'm going to spend bullet time, presumably.
And
that means they're able to grab Reborn, because they know Reborn's going to push forward to eat that bullet time. It's too tempting as a brawl. So they're already prepped for it, and I love that.
What a game. And again, I mentioned this going into it. I feel like Butler, a slightly stronger team, but I thought the draft from St. John's was going to be able to offer just a little bit more, but they just haven't gotten there yet. QSS forced to be picked up here for this Ezreal just for a little more survivability in these fights, and that survivability comes at a cost, and the cost is more damage.
More like St. John's. Because they're out of this game.
Oh. Oh.
Because they're gone.
Oh. Gonna be honest, that took me a second. My brain went somewhere else. I appreciate it though. It was good. That was me. That wasn't you. You're fine.
Thanks.
Matt Turret though.
Pretty far forward. Pikey can just go on them. Never mind.
There's the Cataclysm locking up a couple of members. TPs are coming in. Bullet time as well. Reburn. Oh, actually, finding the back line. Trying to take down the carry, but no! And in response, the call of the Forge God, the reinitiation, knocking him on down. What looked like it could have been a great fight for St. John's is turned on its head, and that is the ace, the triple kill for the Yasuo from Butler as they push in. TJ, that might just be the game.
I think it very well is. Ihuko goes too far forward trying to find a kill, does find damage, but there's no way to get in on all those high HP targets, and Butler will win it in the mid-game.
And the prediction from both of us, but St. John's, hot off their win in the last game, might be enough to upset it, but Butler is just too strong. They said, yes, we lost in game number 1, but up against a stronger opponent, and we will rally, bringing both of these teams to 1-1 on day 1 here for the 2020 regular season. Oof, what a game. It was so close. It was so close. And then it just felt like every little trade, Butler just got a little bit more.
It was that
a little bit more.
It was that pick on the Aatrox. We had a 50-50 game, and then they spot out an Aatrox. 7 Swords who stepped a little bit too far forward.
Just a touch.
And the call comes out, and it's great shot calling, and they just accelerate right into that top lane, grab the Aatrox, and from there the game's over, because they earned such an advantage off of that. I was a little bit worried they weren't doing enough with the Baron, but it's just beautifully played by Butler. They wait until they can get maximum value from the Baron, and they are able to push into a mid lane team fight. There's just no way for St. John's to turn. And instead of sitting behind the turret, maybe taking the loss, maybe playing from the Nexus turrets, which would have been the smart play, I think, extend the game as much as possible. St. John's go very aggressive. Say, okay, let's turn this fight here and now. And I don't think there was a world in which they did that.
And here's the thing. I think it comes back. Part of the reason why I didn't love the Israel pick, and I've sort of validated in my not loving.
You should have stuck with. You were doubting them. You should have stuck with them.
See, here's the thing. When you're up against a really tanky Ornn and you're up against a tanky Sejuani, you want an ADC, an attack damage carry, to shred through them, not a little Ezreal poking a ding, and everybody else went in. And Ezreal is just like, I'm going to help from the back, and then everybody goes in without him, and then they die because they don't have that additional damage to shred down the frontliners.
That's where the Cassiopeia should have been. It should have been IQ for the sustained damage against the big tanky characters, but we never got to Cassiopeia comes online territory, which admittedly is pretty late. Cassiopeia is terrifying in the early game if they get ahead, but you weren't going to get ahead in that lane. So we were just talking, past 25 minutes, that Cassiopeia at 3 items is going to start to get really scary, and we never got there.
We got to, just after 25, not quite able to line it up. She was down, I think, 60 CS to the Yasuo, who I think was a consistent force over that game. Played well, played solid. Was never the big flashy player, but just offered enough in these fights. And honestly, the Ornn, the Call of the Forge God reinitiation, or just pure initiation, was too much. And I talked about the initiation tools, but the J4, other than some early game pressure, they just dodged the flag and drag, and then he was in, and then they just went, okay. And that was about it. Just a really great series of events. Butler coming in really strong, proving that skill wins over maybe a slightly down-tuned draft. The Misfortune, I think, was fine that game. I think it was really the components that played around her.
Yeah, the things that I didn't expect coming out of the draft, the things that went against my predictions, were the Cassiopeia didn't get anything going. In fact, they got shut down a little bit during the early game. Aatrox's hard lost lane, which you're not supposed to do, into an Ornn especially, the Aatrox hard lost lane. And then you also saw a weirdly absent Jarvan. There was never a moment where the Jarvan was doing the Jarvan things during the early game, locking down the kills.
Yeah, it was definitely a solid effort from St. John's, showing a lot of potential, just not quite able to carry through and execute. I think Butler just played a little bit better. I don't even necessarily think that St. John's made a lot of mistakes. I think it's just that Butler played a little bit better. And that's, for better or for worse, sometimes those are the games you're like, yeah, guys, we didn't really make a ton of errors. They just beat us today. But it is only today. It is only day one. This is a double round robin. They have a chance to rally and recover going into these next games. And starting the season off 1-1 for both of these squads, we're starting to see the hierarchy define now, I think, a little bit.
Getting an idea of where people stand?
Yeah, I think obviously the big X factor still is DePaul and some other questions on that one. But we do have the Mac attack. Butler, Mac is on the line. After the win in that last game. Hello, sir, there in the nice-looking space. Saw some pictures on Twitter, looking pretty good. You got a big smile on your face after that game, and for good reason. How you feeling?
Feeling great. I'm really glad our team came together and, played as a team and converted on our practice we did and won. Feels good.
How do you feel about the nickname Mac Attack?
How do I feel about what?
The nickname Mac Attack. It just got thrown your way right before we started the interview.
I like it. Mac Attack's
right.
a good one.
We're sticking with it all season long.
Okay.
That felt like the game was about to be turned. Like the entire game, I was waiting for St. John's to step up and have their late game win conditions from the Cassiopeia. Were you at all worried about that, or did you feel in control the whole match?
Not really. We were really comfortable with our scaling. We had the Ornn giving extra stats to all our carries. We had really good team fight. And the problem with Cassiopeia in that comp was she was really short-ranged and can't really convert on the Jarvan engages. So we felt as long as we played to our win conditions and didn't overreach, we weren't ever able to lose any of the fights since Cassio is so short-ranged and our carries were really long-ranged. And if we ever get the good Ornn horn, we just wombo them.
And I could tell that especially around that Baron play. You were playing very, very passively and very, very carefully when you got those advantages. But you got that advantage off of the Aatrox, where you just saw, I think it was 7 swords, a little bit too far forward in the top lane and zoomed towards him. Can you talk about how you make a shot call like that?
Yeah, that one wasn't actually me. That was our mid laner, All for Joy, Kim. He was just like, yo, this guy's dead. Come. So we all just ran up, and that really broke open the game. So big shout outs there. That was huge.
Yeah, that was the call we made as well, the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were. But I think your points on the spacing of those team fights were super correct, and identifying even those small micro interactions did a lot for you there. So obviously the day started off not exactly how you wanted, but you found some redemption here. I was sort of talking about the idea of where the teams are starting to stack and fall here. Where do you guys think that you fall in sort of the Big East here? Who are the teams that you guys are also looking out for?
Second place.
All right.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Villanova, mistake, right? We messed up, but come next time, we're going to smash them. I think DePaul is the only team that really can consistently beat us, and I'm just really looking forward to getting revenge on Villanova.
Ooh, I love it. The confidence, that's what I like to see. Games today, again, some learning lessons and then some improvement already shown. You guys are off to a great start so far this season. Thanks for taking a minute to sit down and chat with us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you. See ya.
Ooh, I love it.
He was so ready.
He was so ready for that question. I'm impressed. I am impressed. The Mac Attack doing some work there, but no, that was just
We're sticking with that.
I am going
Back Attack all
to do
season
so.
long.
And also, did you notice the LEDs in
did.
behind the
Some people's computers have LEDs. That man's house has RGB.
That's their arena
He
on
lives there.
campus. No, okay. Maybe
Did you see that gameplay? He lives there. I liked the call as well. Yo, this guy's dead.
Yeah, that's how I wish more people shot called, guys. Oh, yes, sir, we should rotate to the top lane. It's, yo, this guy's dead.
It's unfair of you to do an impression of our ranked games.
Oh, so beautiful. I know. All right, guys, we're going to jump onto a short break. Before we do, I need to remind you, of course, about the Good Luck, Have Fun Pledge, ! GLHF in the chat. We'll get you more information on that one. Over 400,000 pledges already signed on our goal to 1 million. Take a stand against online toxicity. Check it out. Get an exclusive Twitch badge as well. Social media, ESL Collegiate on Twitter is where you can find all the info about the tournament going on right here, schedules, all that good stuff, as well as cool clips of TJ and I yelling at a video game.
There aren't any cool clips of that.
There's so many cool
Just like
clips.
mediocre
Just
clips.
really, really good.
And profoundly
clips.
uncool.
Okay, no, they're TJ, stop. We have one more game left, and it's all cool. We're going to jump onto a break. When we return, our last game of the day. You don't want to miss it.